Good afternoon, evening, night, whenever you happen to be watching this, YouTube. Friends, family, whatever. This is a more professional video in terms of for professionals, people who are interested in the BlackSpade 251 microphone in particular, which I have just acquired and am currently speaking through, in fact. And also for people who are not professional engineers, but are creating music in their possibly very high quality or low quality home studios like myself. I have a professional type home studio, but it still is just a home studio. It has some very nice equipment in it though. But I have found over the last 5 years, I have struggled desperately to try and understand how things like microphones truly work, why they work the way they do, what they do to the sound quality that I'm able to create. I don't have a lot of bands that come in here and record with me. I have some, and I have a number of musicians that come in because I'm a songwriter and they will record with me. But primarily, it's my lead vocal because I am a singer. That's my shtick, a singer and a songwriter. I'd like to think I'm quite good at it, but time will tell. As this video progresses, later on, I'm going to sing. I'm going to sing Summertime by Porgy and, from the musical Porgy and Bess, Gershwin. Yeah. And that's because I'm going to do two things that I think are important. I'm going to sing the first half of it in a low octave and the second half in a high octave to give you kind of the range of capability of what I'm dealing with this microphone. When I am doing the song, I want to be very clear. I haven't done anything to the sound. There's a little bit of reverb on it. That's it. There's compression with the sound going in, and once it's in the DAW, there's compression on that as well. Otherwise, just a little bit of reverb is added and nothing else. So the sound you're going to get is very pure. It's very clean. It's right out of this Elam 251 from BlackSpade Acoustics in Sweden. A company that's not well known here in the United States, I find, and I don't really know why. This is an amazing piece of equipment. Now, let me explain my journey because it might be similar to yours. And I've not found people online explaining this journey adequately to where I could really understand it. So let me give it a shot because I'm not an engineer. So I don't speak as an engineer. I speak as an end user, someone who needs to use this kind of equipment, this kind of high-end equipment, but doesn't really understand entirely what's going on. So let me tell you, I've worked with lesser microphones through the years. I started with a Shure SM58, and I moved on to a Blue Spark because it was pretty and it was cheap. I moved on to a Blue Reactor because it was prettier and pretty expensive at the time. Turned out to be a dog of a microphone. People hated that microphone. I hated that microphone. And now, and I've used a number of other things. I use other mics on stage when I perform live for pretty high-end custom-built stuff that I really like. But this is the best microphone I've ever owned. Most recently, I've purchased a Slate Digital microphone and use all of the emulation software that it comes with for the Telefunken 251, the Sony 800, all the various Neumanns, including the U47 and things like that. And that's been very, very helpful. About $1,000 package to get into it. And what it taught me was something I've continued to learn with this Black Beauty right here. It taught me that many of the problems I was having in the studio were the microphones that I was trying to use. Now, I know. Every engineer who does this professionally will tell you, you don't need good equipment to make great music. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure I just don't have that kind of skill to be able to create great music without good equipment. I'm sure those guys are telling you the gospel truth. I don't know how they do that. If I knew how they do that, well, I guess I'd be an engineer. I have found that the higher quality the microphone that I have used, the better my sound gets. Just plain and simple. I have also found that the purchase over here, you'll kind of see if I can kind of get you tuned in on that a little bit. I don't know if I can. No, loosen the mic. Yeah, loosen that thing. Okay, there we go. Well, come on now. tune in on that. My gosh, why won't you just give me... Well, okay, can I push the button and it does the autofocus thing? Kinda? Wow, that's really interesting. Oh, there it is. That's my Rupert Neve. That's my Neve 5015. It's a Portico. Neve Portico 5015. That is both a preamp and a compressor together in one unit. And I have been using stock... Whoops. Again, I apologize. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a videographer. This is not my shtick, you know. I'm a singer-songwriter, but I'm going to do my best here for you. Okay, tighten that down. I have been using a Presonus Studio 192, and before that, you know, I used the Scarlett with 2 inputs. I've used the Focus, some cheaper Focusrite equipment. I went through a Tascam that I really liked for a while. All those for preamplifiers and also digital converters. And they've all done just fine for me. But something happened when I bought the Rupert Neve. Everything changed. The sound was not the same. I was shocked at the quality difference that the preamps, the high-quality professional grade, and this is not one of Rupert's more expensive pieces of equipment. This is one of his less expensive preamps and compressors. Now, that's not to say they're cheap. I mean, that's a $2,000 piece of equipment right there. But it did amazing things for my sound. What it did is I didn't have to do as much to the sound. I'd put it in the mic, I'd put it through the equipment, I'd put it through the Neve, it would spit it out into the DAW, and it was gorgeous. And that was through my Slate. That's when I got the Rupert Neve. And the Slate's a beautiful microphone. It's a wonderful microphone just on its own. But it isn't this. I got gorgeous vocal sounds out of that Slate. It fit my voice pretty well, but it always had a little bit of sibilance in it. No matter which emulation I used, there was always a hint of sibilance in the Slate. To some degree, I like that because it allowed the Slate's vocal tracks to really cut through the mix, because I lack the skills necessary to truly understand at a professional level how to cut a vocal through the mix. The Slate allowed me to do that. And it took EQ beautifully. Remember, it's a flat microphone, so it wants to take EQ. All of its emulations are really, they're more than EQ, they tell me, and I believe them. I don't know, but I totally believe them. But this is different, sort of. See, now this $3,000 piece of equipment here, so it's triple the cost of the Slate, you'll hear when I sing, it brings a richness and a warmth to it, especially that low octave singing. But even in the high octave stuff that I do, there's no sibilance at all. There's nothing. There isn't a hint of it. I think I would probably have to work hard to get this microphone to move into sibilance. Now, the guys over at BlackSpade, when I purchased the microphone, told me that they were going to tame the sibilance in a big way. This wouldn't be anywhere near as sibilant as the Slate that I was currently using. They were dead accurate on that. It's absolutely true. They also tell me that this is a bright microphone. They consider this a relatively bright microphone. They tell me that the AKG C12 is a brighter microphone, naturally, that traditional C12. I have a hard time imagining that. They were going to send me a second basket for this that was an AKG C12 basket. I did not pay for that. That was just something they offered because they listened to my voice, heard how I operated, and they were trying to tune a microphone specifically to work for me in my circumstances with my needs. And really, you can't beat that. And they recognized that I like the bright sound of the Slate. And so they thought, well, you know, the C12 is a brighter microphone than the 251. So they're going to send me an extra basket for this. Now, they forgot to put that in there. They sent me the velvet case for the extra head basket. I got the little velvet sack for it, but I didn't get the basket itself. Not a crisis. It's not like I paid for that extra feature. So, you know, I'm grateful to get this, and it just sounds amazing the way it is. But what I'm finding that it does is It takes EQ beautifully. It responds. When I tell it that I want more sparkle in the top end, there it is. Other engineers online, I'll watch them and they'll be using, whatever mic they're using. And they'll show me, well, you see with this plug-in, if you turn this knob over here, you get that magic sparkle in that high end. It just brings it a little more presence. And to be honest with you, and I'm sure this is true for many of you, I can't hear it. I want to, and I try to, but I can't. My ear just doesn't pick that up like a professional engineer does. But it does with this. I add those little subtleties to it, and all of a sudden I can hear what they're talking about with some clarity. If they say this is a very subtle sound, it's a very subtle difference, and I have no idea what that is, it's YouTube, But now I can. And I gotta be truthful, this is really the first microphone where I could hear those sorts of subtleties. There's a natural analog sound here, because this is a tube microphone with a very expensive tube in it. And it just has this warmth, this thickness, this body to it. And normally, in all of the other microphones I've ever owned through my whole career as a singer, I own saturation plugins. I love saturation plugins, and I throw those in and I get a little extra saturation on the voice. This actually puts down what I would consider a pretty saturated vocal track just right out of the box. I've not needed that. Now, I've only recorded one song with it so far. I put saturation on it, I put EQ on it, I did all those things to play with the sound and quickly found they didn't necessarily enhance the sound like they had in other microphones. They were not something I would necessarily jump towards. First, the raw sound of this, it just didn't need anything. But because it's what I would consider a very warm microphone, I think it's funny that BSA doesn't consider it that way. I can add sparkle to it. I've got lots of plugins that say, sparkle effect. Get a little airiness in the top end. Push that button, turn this dial. And when I do it, sure enough, there it is. I can hear it. And that's really pretty cool. And I found other effects and things like that. It doesn't take as much reverb in order to flush out the sound. It's really strange. And it allowed me to play more I had more range in the reverb. The reverb, for whatever reason, when it came on in a more controlled fashion. I have no idea why that would be. I don't pretend to be knowledgeable about the math that's going on there. But it's true. It comes on in a more reasonable fashion. I could pump that reverb a little higher, but it didn't saturate the sound so strongly. It's like a big truck with just way more horsepower to it. You don't have to push that pedal as hard to go where you want to go and pull the load that you want to pull. That's kind of what I'm finding. This is not an awesomely, amazingly different sound or phenomenally better sound than my $1,000 Slate. It's really not. I found that the Neve Preamp made a much, much, much bigger difference to my overall sound. But what it's doing is something I couldn't have gotten any other way. At least I don't think I could have, without maybe enormous skill. Maybe you can take an SM58 and if you have the adequate skill, you can make it take the EQ that way. You can make it take the effects that way. You can add sparkle and remove sparkle, and you can get it forward in the mix to where it really cuts through, but it's not sibilant and it's not too bright. Maybe you can add all that low-end breadth and warmth where you don't need to saturate the vocal track. If you have those skills, you're a better man than I. But for me, I got this. That is doing that trick for me. So I'm coming up with gorgeous vocals, and I'm not really working for it so much. Not in the box. It just, I don't know. It's just better. That seems to be the difference. In my experience, this pattern is held through all the different microphones that I've owned through my career. So I'm very excited. Let me, I'll see if I can't. So I can turn this. This is the front of the microphone, just, I don't know. in case that's interesting to you. She's just... Okay, push that on the screen and then it focuses on that. Is that how it works? I don't know how this works. Huh. I need a teenager or somebody to teach me how to do photography. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got this little bendy thing going on over here that you don't need to make an adjustment. It's just a friction bend, which is pretty cool. Something else I will mention to you too, if you're watching this, it may be because you're interested in a BlackSpade or because you're just interested in the philosophy of use that I'm talking about here. This is my new K&M microphone stand. I'm not a big fan. It's a $500 mic stand. I thought I would be more of a fan than I am. I'll do a review on that, but what I'm finding is with this higher end microphone, you must have a very capable, very flexible microphone stand that allows you to do things that you can't do with your typical on-stage stand. You need to bend it in different directions because it's more subtle in the sound. That's another thing. People always tell me, well, you get further from the mic, so you lose the proximity effect. You get a thinner sound as you go away. You get a warmer sound as you come forward. As you turn it off axis to your chest, you'll get a warmer sound. You bring it up and resonate it off your head cavity, and then that produces a brighter sound. And if you really just get right into the mouth, it brings it into the medium range and stuff. You know, I know all of that is mathematically true because the pros all tell me it's mathematically true. It's not really true, though, until I got to this. That's the thing. I know, they keep telling you can make great music without great gear. They can make great music without great gear. I can't. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to switch to the song itself. Now, for those of you who are in the business, full disclosure here, while I've done no pitch correction, okay, on the song. Normally when I record a track, I'll use a small amount of pitch correction in there, and if I have a really bad note, you know, I might go in and I might try and adjust that. But that it does affect the sound a little bit. Here I've done none. So what you're going to hear is exactly what I put out through the microphone, no pitch correction to change the sound. However, because I'm not using pitch correction, I did do 5 takes of the song, and then I vocal comped the 5 takes together to get a single take that I thought sounded the best. So the video you're about to see is me doing one of those takes. It won't be the take that you're actually hearing through the audio quite exactly. Parts of it will, parts of it won't, if you understand vocal comping as a technique. So please understand that. Again, compression going in from the Rupert Neve. It's the Rupert Neve 515 Portico preamp, and my compression is a 3-to-1 ratio. And then there's compression once it's inside the box. I'm using a pretty high-end compression emulator that I just really like, but I've forgotten what it is. No equalization whatsoever, just a little bit of reverb too. I'm going to go ahead and switch takes here. Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. But till that morning, there ain't nothing can harm you. Oh, Daddy and Mommy, stay.